Right, hello, ladies and gentlemen. So in today's episode, we are going to be interviewing Allie Pepper, who is an incredibly accomplished mountaineer, and we're going to be talking all about training and preparing for 8,000 meter plus mountains. Now, this episode is going to be split into two parts, and essentially a two-part mini-series. In part number one, we're going to be interviewing Allie, and we're going to be talking a little bit about her training, her preparation, what she does through her work with Summit Strength leading into her trips, plus a few insights around climbing these big mountains and preparing for some of these hardest challenges in the world. Now, episode number 2 is just going to be me talking, and I'm going to be talking in a little bit more detail around the training and preparation she's doing, and talk through about her workouts, her structure, and get a little bit more in the nitty-gritty around all that side of things. So with that being said, this is a really, really interesting interview coming up for anyone who's aspiring for those big mountains, or anyone who just wants a bit of inspiration from an incredibly inspirational person. I think this is going to be amazing. So with that being said, let's get into the episode. All right, welcome, Allie. Thank you so much for coming on the show. How are you today?
I am great. Thank you, Rowan.
Well, I'm really, really, really looking forward to having you on board because I think, we've been working together for quite a while, and I think there's just so many interesting areas we could dive into today to share with the audience. I think it's going to be really, really useful, and I've been really looking forward to this since we booked it in. So I guess to kick things off, to let people know who you are, do you just want to give us a rundown? Where you're from, who you are, what you do, and what is your background in mountaineering?
Sure. My name is Allie Pepper, and I am an Australian mountaineer. I am Australia's most accomplished female high-altitude mountaineer. I have been mountaineering for 25 years now. I started in New Zealand, and I have since climbed all over the world. I'm most famous for climbing 8,000 meter peaks. I have summited 10 of them. I have 10 summits, I should say, of 8,000 meter peaks, 6 without oxygen. And out of the 14 summits that are over 8,000 meters, I've completed 7 of them, including Everest and K2. And my current project is to climb all 14 of the world's 8,000 meter peaks without supplemental oxygen.
And then tell us a little bit more about the current project. So how long has it been going on for? What have you done so far? What's ahead of you? Give us a bit more detail on that.
So I have summited 5 in the project, which started on the 15th of July in 2023. And I have 9 to go. I would like to finish the project in 3 years from the start date. The climbing is not being the hardest part of the project, believe it or not. As crazy as that sounds, the funding for the project has been the hardest part of the project. So in terms of finishing the project in a time frame, the funding really is the key, to be honest, and that's been the most work on the whole project.
Yeah, absolutely. And I imagine there's a little bit of logistics that goes behind the scenes to figure all that side of things out.
Oh, there's a phenomenal amount of logistics. I pretty much, since I decided to take this project on, I haven't done the work that I used to do. So before the project, I was a guide, and I have my own business guiding, leading expeditions, and also working here in Australia, guiding mountaineering courses and rock climbing and things like that. And I also used to work at a college teaching outdoor leadership, so new leaders. And I quit all of that to undertake this project. So, yeah, I sold my home to fund the first couple of years of everything. It's not just been about the climbing, it's also been about filming. It's been important to me to film as well as climb because I want to, have a documentary of the project to help inspire others. And that's just as important to me as it is to actually climb.
So let's talk a little bit about training and physical preparation. So we've been working together for well, a while now. I don't know exactly how long, but let's reverse and go a little bit before that. Like, obviously, you've been mountaineering for many years. You know, in the past, before we started working together, what was your just overall typical approach in regards to your preparations and your training?
Yeah, so prior to working with you, I didn't have a structured training plan. And I'm just going to say, since working with you, I'm the strongest I've ever been. So, and I'm also saying that at 49 years old, which is really something. I've never climbed this hard or this well in my life. And a lot of that is due to my training and my fitness regime and working with you. So prior to then, I just kind of did most of my training as if I was, let me say, uh, I didn't know a lot about it, to be honest. And I tried to learn a lot about the science behind training for mountaineering and put it into practice. But it just wasn't working. I'm just going to say that it wasn't working. I was doing a lot of trail running. I was doing a lot of carrying a heavy bag up hills. And I would say I was doing like the maximum amount of work and getting the minimum amount of gains. That would be an overall picture of what I used to do.
And then turning that around, like, you know, since we have started working together, what types of things have changed and what are some of the things you've done a little bit differently since then?
So I think working with you has allowed me to get the maximum results in the minimum amount of time and with the minimum amount of effort. That would be what I love. You've always tailored to my situation and yeah, where I am in the world as well as what I'm doing. So you've fit in my training around what is accessible to me, as in a gym or whatever I have around. And it's just meant that I've had a consistent schedule rather than what I used to do, which was I could fit this in now and I would do something, but it wouldn't necessarily be the thing that I needed to do. So now that I have this structure, it it's a lot easier to fit it into my life. I know how long it takes, and I know that I'm not doing anything that's going to make me weaker. And that's the thing. I used to, I think, train too much endurance and not enough strength. And I would get weak and I'd also get injured.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is a pretty typical thing in the world of mountaineering in the sense that the endurance stuff, it is obviously so important and it's never something you can skip and neglect. But sometimes we kind of, yeah, end up just doing that's it, and that's kind of everything else. And so obviously so many aspects of fitness that goes into mountaineering, and finding that balance for, you know, the individual is such an important thing. So So let's hone in a little bit more and let's get a little bit more specific and let's talk about your current project preparations. So we'll kind of go through kind of how it started, how it progressed, sort of how it's all played out. So I guess to start with, since this last last period of training leading into this current project, what did the training start like initially when you're kind of getting back into things, getting in the swing? What did your sort of week typically look like?
So you're going to have to remind me, but I do remember when I came back from the mountain last year, I had spent many, 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 many months climbing and a lot of time at altitude, and I was very weak. I'd spent a lot of time that year on the mountain, on expedition, or traveling, and I hadn't done really any workouts to maintain my strength and fitness. So when we started back up again at the end of the season last year, I think I was only able to do 3 workouts a week. And then we gradually built it up. And now I'm doing 5 workouts a week. And yeah, a huge improvement. I just finished a 7-hour trail run, not yesterday, day before. And yeah, and so my strength now, I'm lifting like 60 kilos, which is a deadlift as well as what do you call it, squats with the barbell. And that's pretty much back to where I was at the start of last season, the start of last year. So I've got back to that, but I can tell you when I first started at the end of my last mountaineering season, I was very, very weak and nowhere near where I am now. I would have been able to run half an hour max.
Yeah, absolutely. And you were also coming off a couple of was it health issues after last season? Is that right? Am I remembering that correctly?
Um,
The frostbite or
oh yeah, I had frostbite. Good point.
yeah,
I
yeah,
did have frostbite, yeah. In my left toes. I did have frostbite, so that made it a little bit tricky for some of the exercises. Yeah, so I wasn't running that much when I got back, and I needed to look after that. But I was sort of able to do strength. But yeah, we got, it ramped up the better I got and the, fitter I got as well.
And then over this period, as you sort of said, kind of been slowly but surely like ramping up as you've been getting stronger, ramped up the sessions, ramped up the strength, and now obviously doing quite a bit of running as well. You know, as we always say, and I always say, no training program is ever a linear journey. There's always ups, always downs. So, through this last sort of period, have there been any sort of roadblocks or challenges which have sort of come up along this way? And if so, how have you personally worked around them?
Yeah, so I've had a bit of an issue with the left side of my body, I'm gonna say. So I had, and it's actually also the toes that got frostbite were on the left, and I had some arch pain on the left, and then I've had knee pain on the left. And we have been, I guess, like working with this over the years because it's been an ongoing type thing where I've gone to a physio and had strength exercises and worked that into the program. So I have actually been doing that lately as well. But prior to, starting this year's season, I have been going to the physio. I have been doing my physio stuff as well as the strength workouts with you. And the other thing that I've added in lately is kinesiology. So that is making sure that both sides of my brain are firing, to make sure that the muscles on the left side are actually switched on. And so that has helped a lot as well.
Yeah, interesting. And just out of curiosity, what types of things have you done through that kinesiology? What type of exercises or routines, or have they got you doing?
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. Like it's not a it's a bit hard to describe, but it's just like a little it's not even an exercise, it's just like a series of movements with your arms and your legs, and it takes like 30 seconds. But I do them 3 times in the morning. I do them before I work out, after I work out, and then 3 times at the night. And I've been doing them for like 2, 3 weeks now, and I pretty much got back now to strength on both sides of my body being equal. So now I'm just starting to do them. Oh, sorry. Now I'm only doing them before and after exercise to maintain it.
Very interesting. Okay, and then we're obviously getting relatively close to expedition date, or everything goes to plan. And we're in the sort of final stages of this training and preparation. So right now, like with your current training block, what you're doing, can you just talk us through what's going into the whole week, and just give us the full rundown of the week?
Yep. So I have 2 strength workouts, one power interval workout, which I do on a stationary bike at the gym. I have a long trail run and a weighted hill climb where I put water bladders in my backpack. So my backpack weighs about 20 kilos, and I hike up a hill for around, at the moment, around an hour 45, and dump the water and then come back down again.
Beautiful. And for context, for anyone listening, for the power intervals Ali was mentioning, basically these are some longer intervals on bike. I think at the moment we're doing about 3 minutes at a time, with about a 90-second rest, and just getting some exposure to that higher intensity stuff, but that longer duration, higher intensity, which can be quite nice in at this time. So let's move forward and let's do a little bit of future looking. And obviously everything goes plan. Get out on the plane, get out on the expedition. Um, Talk me through kind of a rough plan of how things will look or potentially look when you're actually over there. Like, when you first arrive, when you're going through acclimatization, when you're moving towards the summer push. Like, how do your sort of weeks typically look? Well, typical, I know, is a tricky word, but how are you envisioning your weeks to look once you get over there?
Yeah, so I don't have like contrary to like what a lot of people would have, I don't have a plan. And I know this will drive like people crazy, but I've been doing this for so long now that I know my body, and I know what I guess like need to do to acclimatize. And I actually decide, because my project, I have 9 peaks left to do, and in the spring season in Nepal, there's only certain ones that you can do in that time. And basically the ones that I'm choosing will pretty much be decided when I get there, as in what's in the best condition, how are the logistics looking, all that kind of thing. So in my mind, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what mountain it is. I have the experience and the mindset to cope with not having that plan. And I know that might be difficult for people to understand, but I've trained not only my body, I've trained my mind to stay open-minded and be adaptable and resilient. So in terms of acclimatizing, for me, and I think for most people, and this is where they do stuff up and go wrong, is I've got to spend time acclimatizing lower down. And that is like the most crucial part of the whole thing. Once I have done the sort of lower down acclimatizing, then I can move faster. But if I stuff that up and try to rush it, then I don't get it back. then the whole season becomes very difficult.
And then, out of curiosity, and I know everyone would be different, so this is just you looking at your own personal situation. But when you're going through that, like, how do you personally feel like when you feel like you've done that right and you're going through the climatization, things are coming together? Like, talk me through the differences in feelings of the body to when you've stuffed it up compared to when you're feeling like you're on the right track.
Yeah, so I don't get altitude sickness so much anymore, um, because I know like my body and how I react with altitude. So I really just listen to my body, like how high is my heart rate? Do I need to rest? I I'm pretty used to acclimatizing now. So my body does just go back into it, remembers what to do. And it's pretty fast for me now, even if I have been off the mountain for months. But I will, stop at a certain height and know that I'll need to sleep an extra day there because when I wake up in the morning, I might have a puffy face or I'm not, feeling that great. And I just go by that. That's it. I like as I move up, I'll just check in and see how I feel. Of course you can use numbers and you can fixate on a pulse oximeter or whatever, but because I have done that in the past and I know what it feels like to have 85% oxygen saturation, I just have linked that to how my body reacts and how I'm feeling. And I'll just stop if I need to, or I'll go slower. I'll start walking slower. And yeah, so I guess like up to around 5,000 meters and then starting to sleep above 5,000 meters, I take it pretty easy. Once I've sort of got to the point that I'm like very happily sleeping above 5,000, that's when I start to do rotation on the mountain. So I might do like most of the time I get that exposure to 5,000 meters before I even go to the mountain. I do it trekking and then I'll go to the mountain and I'll start a rotation up the mountain. And for me, without oxygen, it's better if I don't do that many rotations up the mountain because I get weaker and weaker and weaker. And if you are using oxygen, you can do more because when you then go to summit, you put the oxygen on and you come down 2,000 meters or more when you, depending on how high a flow you've got. So it's not like you're doing a rotation to like 8,000 meters, right? So you can push your body, I guess, like a little bit more in terms of acclimatizing. But for me, if I do too many rotations on the mountain and I go up high, too often, I just get weak. It doesn't help me for the summit push at all.
And then when you're going through those rotations, for again, this is a very individual thing, but for you personally, is there anything physically or mentally that you're making sure you're staying on top of that for you personally, look, if I do these things, it's going to help me recover, help me feel good, help me prepare. Is there anything that you specifically are aiming for during that time?
Oh, I have like a million things that I do. Like a million things that I do because I have so many like routines and things that I do to look after myself that other people don't do, but I do. So it is a little bit difficult to share, but every single thing that you're doing is basically trying to expend the least amount of energy. Now, for me, I sleep really well on the mountain, and that is a mental thing most of the time. 99% of the time, if someone isn't sleeping well on the mountain, it's because they're worried or they're nervous or they're anxious or they're, you know, not feeling great about being there, or maybe they have some symptoms because they're not acclimatized enough. But most of the time it's because they're nervous, and I don't have that. So that is mental. Like that is mental. And if you can be in control of your mind and stay focused in the now and not be thinking about the summit or what's going to happen tomorrow or XYZ or blah, 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 and just keep focused on the next step, and having a good sleep and all of those things, like drinking water, eating as much as you can, looking after yourself, stopping having a break when you need to, stopping and putting sunscreen on, and just basically being as, I guess, like loving to your body as you can, because it can be, well, it's obviously an extreme environment. Looking after yourself is like number one.
And then let's talk about the summit push, because I know this is probably what a lot of people have been waiting for, and a lot of people are curious with this interview. And obviously, you've got a few of these big summits, in your background without oxygen. So talk me through, like, what do you expect it? Obviously, everything's different and every experience is different, but what do you expect it to be like when you're up that high? Like, how is your body going to feel when you're really pushing for the summit, and what'll be going through your mind, do you expect?
So I don't think that much. You can't, like, you literally cannot think that much. And that's the hardest thing to describe because your brain is so starved of oxygen. All you're trying to do is stay alive. And it's difficult to explain how that feels, but I'm not really thinking. And that's it. I am simply walking and I'm focused on the next step. A lot of my thoughts will be around how cold it is. What do I need to do to be warmer? Do I need to drink something? Can I eat something? Can I just ignore it and keep walking? The sun's coming up soon. That's it. That's all the thoughts that I can have. Before the summit push, I just make sure that everything is in perfect order. So I change out of any underlayers that are sweaty, and that's just really important because without oxygen, if you've got like a wet-ish or sweaty layer on, it's colder. So I have a whole new change of thermals, and I have a very specific layering system that I need to use, as well as boot heaters, and a breathing mask because the air is so cold. And without oxygen, you're breathing so hard and so fast. It's really difficult to stop from freezing from the inside out. So my chest is always freezing because of the air in my lungs. And yeah, and basically I'm just making sure like I'm all good, and I'm climbing with my partner, Mikhail, and he has, the things that he needs to carry. He's all good. And if we're climbing with another Sherpa, same for them. They're all good. They've got everything that they need, and we're all okay. And we just keep going. That's it.
And then let's talk through the other side of things. So you've done your summit push, you've gotten down, feeling good. Well, feeling okay, I should probably say, maybe not feeling good.
No.
But do you have any rituals, routines, or celebrations or anything like that that you like to do after a big expedition like this?
Yep, go to bed. um it's like not over, like once you're on the summit, the hardest part is coming back down, like 100%. It's so exhausting, and it takes everything. You feel as though you give everything to get there, especially without oxygen. But coming back down is often harder. Yeah, because you're so wasted. So we do our best, the Sherpa I'm climbing with, or if I'm climbing with Mikhail, like he would just love to keep going all the way down to base camp, but I can't do it. I'm just so exhausted. So typically, like we sleep again at the high camp, which is always above 7,000 meters. So it's, I still sleep that night, and I just do my best to eat and then pack up and head down. Once I get to the base camp, and you're at a lower altitude, everything changes. Like you can think again, and yeah, you can eat more, and you can sleep really well. And so, like, yes, I celebrate. I don't drink alcohol, so it's not like I go nuts, but there'll be a cake, there'll be a cake and a bit of a celebration. And then I just want to go to sleep. That's pretty much it. I just can't wait to be back at a hotel where I can have like a proper bed and yeah, just have downtime and rest. Sometimes that takes a long time to get to that point because we've got to trek out like K2, that's epic. And you have to just keep demanding more and more and more of your body every single day to get out of there. So yeah, the celebration sometimes doesn't happen for a while, but it's great when it does.
And then I know this is a massive question, so you just in brief, you didn't have to get too deep into it all. But if someone listening to this was considering a big 18,000 meter plus mountaineering adventure, and they were like, you know what, this is something I've always wanted to do, I'm kind of eyeing it off, or something that like I genuinely want to make happen in the near future. What would your advice be? Both in the I guess the logistics of building up to something like this, and the physical preparation required.
Yeah, so I mean, whenever someone asks me this, I always just say like, "What have you done?" Because I can't really answer the question until I know what that person has done. I have written a free ebook. It's called Everest Essentials: Your Path to the Summit. And I suggest that anyone who wants to climb an 8,000 dart, doesn't matter if it's Everest or not, to read that because that gives you a lot of questions about where you're at now. And then it'll prompt you to go, okay, well, these are the types of things that I need to do to get to where I want to go. And that's free. That ebook is free. So yeah, if you follow me on Instagram, you can just click the link in my bio and download it for free. So that would be the best answer for me because there's a lot of information in that. But what I want to say is, if you're starting from zero, then it's going to take a few years to build up the skills and experience, and going from trekking at high altitude to then doing high altitude peaks and building up, the height and the technical difficulty on them. And as you do that, then you'll know. So that's a different conversation. Once you've got to the point that you've climbed, say, Ama de Blanc successfully, and, that felt, I'm not going to say easy, but easy technically for you, and the altitude felt fine. So you've got to that height without oxygen, obviously. Then you'd start looking to do an 8,000er.
Absolutely, and I'll make sure there's a link for that ebook in the show notes below. So and also Allie's Instagram as well. So anyone's interested in getting their hands on that, just scroll down the show notes and you'll be able to check it out. But awesome. So I feel like we covered some great areas and topics today. And in all honesty, I could kind of chat your ears off on this for a long time, but we'll wrap this episode up because I don't so we don't end up taking up your whole afternoon. So I guess before we finish things up, is there anything else you feel like you'd like to add? Anything else you feel like we've missed, or anything else you want to add to what we chat about today?
Yeah, look, I just think that a lot of people might think that they can do their own training regime. But the thing is, when you work with a coach, you're accountable. And even though I don't see you that often, Rowan, you are with me. You are with me on my journey. And if I skip a workout or I don't complete a workout or something, I'm accountable to you. And I feel, well, hey, like I'm not honoring Rowan's time and expertise, if I'm not taking this seriously. So there's a huge benefit in having people on your team to support you that know what they're doing, that you can message and say, hey, this routine isn't working for me right now. What is a better, a way that will work for me that fits into my life and it's going to give me the same outcome? It's very difficult to do that on your own without someone who knows what they're doing, an expert in your team. So I just want to say, thank you, Rowan. I am as strong as I am now, and I am as successful as I am now, thanks to you.
I appreciate that, Ali. And from my side of things, it is such a pleasure being a part of this journey, and and just having you on board all of this because you're such a dedicated trainer, let alone a mountaineer. But just to see so much effort and consistency that you put into the sessions, it is such a pleasure on my side of things. And I love having you part of the Summit Strength family. So I guess if anyone listening today did want to find a little bit more about your story, follow your journey, learn a little bit about more what you do, where is the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, so they can look at my website, which is alliepepper.com, or they can follow me on Instagram. So I do post a lot on Instagram and as well as my Facebook page, and they are both Allie Pepper Adventures. Yeah, so I'm very regular with that, and then you'll get the live updates.
Fantastic. Well, what I'll do is I'll make sure all of those, as well as that ebook we mentioned before, are all in the show notes below. So if anyone wants to check that out, just scroll down there and you'll be able to find it all. But with that being said, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today, Ali. I really appreciate you taking the time. It's been really interesting having a bit of a chat about all this, and I really do think a lot of people listening, are going to really enjoy this episode. So thank you so much. It's been fantastic.
Oh, my pleasure, Rowan. Anytime. And yeah, I really hope that this, inspires people to chase their goals and do it in a way that is, what would I say, honors the mountain. Because the more prepared we are mentally and physically, the better it is when we get there for us and everyone around us.